Right guys, so this is going to be my recipe for a pineapple blonde ale, or a summer beer, or as our American friends call it, a lawnmower beer. It's just basically a light beer in colour and ABV that you can drink all day, and I think it's going to be the perfect recipe to add some fruit to. Now, I've made my American pale ale before with mango, and it was a very mild infusion. It was lovely, but very mild. And doing some subsequent reading, I found that generally if you're adding fruit, you don't want to be dry hopping the beer. So instead of doing a pineapple American pale, I'm going to do a pineapple blonde ale instead. I think that'll allow the flavour of the fruit to come through much better. So what I'll do, I'll make my lawnmower beer as I did before. I'll give it a good few weeks in the primary fermenter. Probably cold crush it just to drop everything out, and then I'll add the pineapple, let it ferment for another week or so, and then I'll bottle it. So yeah, I'll take you inside now. I've got everything weighed out, ready to go, and we'll see how it's made. So there's my grain weighed out. I've got my strike water in there in the mash tun. 3 litres per kilo of grain. I need this to be 73 degrees when I add the grain, so I've heated it up to 85 degrees. It's coming at about 76, so I'll just let that cool down a few degrees, then I'll add the grain. If none of you have used American hops before, they are absolutely incredible. I mean, I just totally love them. Citra specifically, for me, is probably my favourite hop. Really imparts a lovely citrusy flavour. So I think it will work perfectly for this pineapple beer. So at 73 degrees, I'm mashing the grain. The last couple of times I've preheated the mash tun. I didn't see the point this time. Add the water in about 10 degrees hotter than I needed. It'll account for thermal loss to the mash tun. So yeah, there we go, 66 degrees. Perfect. Lid on, insulation on. So there we go, mashing away. I'll give it 15 minutes, then I'll give it a stir, and keep doing that. Every 15 minutes, give it a stir. So yeah, cheers. Here's my blonde ale. Really, really good. Yeah, I really think this will go well with some pineapple. So that's mashed for an hour. I'm now just going to do the first runnings, which is all about draining the wort. And whilst I'm draining it, little bits of grain are going to come out. As the grain bed settles down, bits will stop coming out. I can then pour this back over the grain bed, straight into my kettle. So there we go, no bits coming out. I can turn that off and put my kettle underneath. So that's now draining into the kettle. I can pour the first runnings back over the grain bed, doing the voila. So that's the wort drained out. Now I'm going to batch sparge. Put half of my sparge water in at 77 degrees. Give it a good stir. Now I'll leave that for 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'll do the same again. Drain it off till the bits stop coming out. Pour that back over and let it drain straight into the kettle. Okay, so that's had a 5 or 10 minute rest. Just going to let it run clear. Lovely. Grain bed seems to have settled nicely. Now I'll just put the kettle underneath and drain straight into that. Lovely jubbly. Once that's completely drained, I'll put the second sparge water in there, do my second batch sparge, and then bring this to the boil. Come into the boil. Lovely. The malty aroma. So that's 24 grams of Fuggles. They're bittering hops. Give that 45 minutes, then I'll drop in some Citra. Ounce of Citra with 15 to go. 28 grams to you and me. Okay, so you can tell if a pineapple's ripe or not, apparently by pulling these out. And there we go, ripe. So, I'm going to freeze the pineapple, which will break down the cell structure, which means it will release more flavour when I add it to the beer. Now, beer recipes generally call for half a pound of fruit for a strong per gallon for a strong flavoured fruit like raspberries, and then possibly twice that for something like peaches that has less flavour. So I'm aiming for roughly around half a pound of pineapple per gallon. Okay, so this is the pale ale, been fermenting a little over 3 weeks. I'm now going to add a litre of pineapple juice, no additives, just pure juice, and then pineapple that's been frozen, now defrosted. I'm just going to leave that for a week and then put it into the fridge. Okay, so here's the pineapple pale ale. This has been left alone for about 2.5 weeks now, and the bubbles have all subsided. So it's going to be a matter of separating the beer from the fruit and the yeast. Okay, so what I've decided is I don't know if cold crashing is going to drop this pineapple to the bottom or not, so I'm just going to rack it into here and then see what happens. If there's particles still in this, I can cold crash it. If not, you know, happy days. But we shall see. Shit. Okay, so that racked off pretty well, to be honest. So certainly no complaints there. Certainly a few little particles in it, so I will cold crash it. I've got myself a little dram. Maybe a subtle hint of pineapple in the aroma, but not much in the way of flavour. So, fairly disappointed with that. You'd think 2 pineapples and a litre of pineapple juice would have more impact, but maybe it'll come out in the conditioning. Otherwise, next time I'll be using much more fruit. So it's been a day of mowing. So I'm going to do a beer review. Made this about a year ago now, and I've got about 6 bottles left of the gallons that I made, and I'm not sure what any of them are, but let's get to it. First off, opening the bottle. I generally use a spoon, but you can use a lighter or a knife, whatever you have on hand. You don't need a bottle opener. Just like that, and just pry it off your finger. Job done. Now before I crack it, we put sugar in the beer to carbonate it before going in the bottle. which means as the yeast ate the sugar, it dropped out of suspension and settled in the bottom. So you've got a little bit of sediment here, so never pour the whole lot of beer into the glass. I mean, you can, but you don't need to contaminate your beer with yeast. So there we go. Crystal clear. So this is the pineapple pale ale. I mean, colour wise looks like a lager pretty much. Now it's absolutely zero, none whatsoever taste of pineapple, not even a hint of it. There's a bit on the aroma, but on the flavour, I'm not picking it up in the slightest. So if I have another crack at pineapple beer, the amount of pineapple is going to have to increase dramatically. I think I put, it's been a year now, but I think it was 2 pineapples and a litre of pineapple concentrate. And yeah, not a flavour, but I'll tell you what this is. It's a cracking all-day beer. I drank loads of this last year in the summer. You know, I think it's a 3% something, and just, absolutely perfect lawnmower beer. It's really refreshing. Head doesn't stay very long, so I think a bit more Carapils. Need to tweak that. That gives it a bit more body, and I think the head should retain better. But otherwise, you know, I'd probably make this again without bothering with the pineapple. Just have as an all-day lager sort of ale. You know, it's really absolutely cracking. Cheers. I mean, it does give it I think the pineapple does give it a bit of a tartness. I'd have to sort of make one with and one without and see what the difference is, really. But I mean, I really enjoy this, I have to say, despite there being no presence of pineapple whatsoever. It's yeah, cracking little beer. So if you do make it, let me know what you think, because yeah, I love it. All right, cheers.